So everybody, after months of leaks and rumors about a mysterious music application that Apple was creating, they formally announced Apple Classical for iOS. So in this video, I want to talk about everything we need to know, from pricing, why they created a standalone app for classical music, and everything in between. Let's get right into it. So let's get right into all the info we need to know about this new Apple Classical application, because it is a standalone application separate from Apple Music completely and separate from anything else in Apple's ecosystem. So to begin with, it will be releasing on March 28th, so at the end of the month, you will be able to go into the App Store, download Apple Classical, and even right now you can go to the App Store and actually pre-order the application, so then it'll show up on your phone right then and there on March 28th. And then in terms of pricing, we didn't find anything in Apple's news release or anything that we've heard about standalone pricing if you just want to use this application. But if you are an Apple Music subscriber of any sort, so if you're a student, if you have the regular account, if you're an Apple One subscriber that has all the different applications built into that, then Apple Classical will be part of that bundle. And even if, like I said, you're just an Apple Music subscriber, you will be able to then download Apple Classical as a standalone application as part of your monthly bill for Apple Music. And then the last quick thing we should know about it before we get into exactly what is included with Apple Music is that it's only an iOS and iPhone application. So sadly, there isn't going to be a standalone macOS app, and there's not going to be a new optimized iPadOS version of the app. You know, iPads are always getting neglected. I'm sure Apple with iPadOS 17 will tout it as a new feature or a new application with Apple Classical to be used on iPadOS. But for now, it's only going to come out March 28th, included with whatever Apple Music bundle you use, and only on iOS. And you will need to be on the latest version of iOS 16, so it will support all the phones that use iOS 16 overall. So before we get into everything that's included with the Apple Classical application, I do want to talk about why this application is going to exist. Because when I first heard the rumors, in my opinion, I was like, why is Apple creating a separate application just for a different genre of music? I'm not a classic musical listener per se, so I probably don't know the ins and outs, and I'm sure there's a huge community of classical music listeners and composers and artists that I'm just not part of that world, so I'm sure there is a real good reason to have this. But I did think to myself, why didn't Apple just add this into the Apple Music application? And the reason is because they wanted to create an application that was a little bit different than just Apple Music. So Apple Music gives you the latest and greatest when it comes to music, right? The latest hits, all the different genres that go along with that, but then also it gives you some of the oldies as well, some stuff from the 40s, 50s, 60s, but that's all it really is. It's just a music player at the end of the day. Versus Apple Classical, and we're going to get into what is included with Apple Classical, it's more of a library of all these musics, of all these composers, of all these different songs, and all the history that is behind those songs. So to kind of reiterate what Apple gave in their news press release, Apple Classical makes it quick and easy to find any recording in the world's largest classical music catalog with fully optimized search, and listeners can enjoy the highest audio quality available and experience many classical favorites in a whole new way with immersive spatial audio. So that's another thing. I think Apple wanted to perfect spatial audio for classical music because they probably wanted you to feel like you were in a big theater and you were listening to how this music was intended to be listened to, with a live artist or a live composer kind of playing this music for you in front of you with spatial audio in a standalone application. At launch, it will include 5 million unique tracks, which is great to see, thousands of exclusive albums, and according to Apple, much more. And some of the things, I'm going to list them out right now and I'll put them on the screen. So like I mentioned earlier, it's going to be the world's largest classical music catalog with over 5 million tracks and works from new releases to celebrated masterpieces. You have thousands of exclusive albums, the ability to search by composer, by work, by conductor, or even catalog number, and then specific recordings instantly. So you're able to find anything that you want to, and if you are familiar with any composer, whether they're new or old, you'll be able to find these immediately if you know what you're looking for. So you get up to 192 kilohertz and then 24-bit high-res lossless audio, and then thousands of those songs will support spatial audio at launch. So I'm going to be very curious to see what it sounds like, how it sounds, and then honestly with the support of spatial audio on the new Sonos speakers that are being released on March 28th as well, it's going to be a great kind of combination. If your music player does support spatial audio, it's going to be a great listening experience. And then the cherry on top of all this is that yes, it's going to provide you all the music listening that you're going to want, but then also history and information on that song, on that composer, and some biographies of those composers as well. So you're going to get thousands of editorial notes, including composer biographies, descriptions of key works, and much more. And then lastly, Apple did mention that Apple Music Classical is the ultimate classical experience with hundreds of curated playlists, thousands of exclusive albums, insightful composer biographies, deep dive guides for many key works, intuitive browsing features, and much more. So again, this is for the people that love classical music, whether you are a player or an artist or a composer yourself, or you just like to enjoy to listen to it and kind of use it as background music while doing work, or just sitting there and listening to it as if you're listening to it on a record player at home while kind of hanging out in the living room. So this is going to be for a wide range of people that just enjoy classical music overall, both old and new as well. So that is pretty much everything that we know about Apple Classical in totality. Again, it's going to be releasing March 28th, but it's been rumored since about 2021 when Apple did acquire Prime Phonics streaming service, which is, again, it was a classical music streaming service, a standalone application. So Apple acquired them back in 2021 with the idea of creating their own standalone Apple version of this application, which is exactly what they're doing on March 28th. Again, it's going to come to you at no extra cost if you are an Apple Music subscriber, no matter what tier you're on. And of course, if you're an Apple One subscriber, that's also going to be included in there. And then the last thing to note, depending on what region you're in, this is not going to be available in China, Japan, Korea, or Taiwan. No reason as to why right now, but those are the only countries that are excluded from this March 28th release date. If you're in any other country, then you'll be able to access it with no problem whatsoever. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about this Apple Classical application. Do you think it makes sense to make a standalone application instead of just kind of marrying it into Apple Music itself? Maybe Apple did this so it got enough kind of visibility and enough marketing behind it, because if Apple just kind of quietly put this into Apple Music, then nobody would really know about it, and then would kind of just show up organically versus making a standalone application. Now people are going to hear about it, they're going to see the app on their phone, they're going to see that app as part of their streaming service kind of portfolio that they use. So these are all things that Apple probably thought about when they were releasing Apple Music Classical overall. But let me know with a comment down below if you're excited for this, if this is something that you're going to be using moving forward. Are you a classical music kind of composer or listener, or just you enjoy that type of music? Let me know, I'm very curious to know, and we can discuss in the comments down below. But if you made it to the end of this video, leave a little dolphin in the comments down below so I know you made it to the end. And like I said, let me know if you're excited about this or not. But March 28th, mark your calendars, or like I said, pre-order it and get it ready for your phone for March 28th. But that's going to do it. If you guys want to watch more iOS, iPadOS, or macOS content, click on one of these videos right here. But until next time, I'm Fernando, and I'm out of here, everybody. Peace.